I've decided this is the YouTube musical evening.
I'm sorry,
We're going to do the whole thing in musical terms. Welcome, guys. Bit of madness ensuing here at Wildlife Aid. Some of the earlier comments all came from Lawrie. He's just so nasty to me.
That's not true. Simon wrote every single one designed so that it would look like we were all having a back and forth chat. He just talks to himself.
I do.
That's the thing. We don't allow him out of the office or to have any sort of human contact. He can only talk to himself.
I have nobody to talk to. Nobody will speak to me. I'm sitting here all alone. I'm going to try to get my dogs in tonight. Now, the only way to do that later on is to wave the gravy pot bowl around and see if I can get my dogs in. I'd like you to see my dogs, my beautiful boys. One of them, sad, is not very well. He's got multiple cancers and it's a flat coat. So that's what happens when you get a flat coat. They don't live forever, sadly. But just to upset all of you, I intend to live forever, and so does Lawrie. Yeah, Lawrie, you're going to go on forever. We're going to, you know, have you there.
It wasn't a reaction to that. It was more the reaction to you're going to live forever. I was contemplating the terror.
Already, Lawrie is having the digs at me. Just everybody says I get at Lawrie and I upset Lawrie. Just listen carefully, guys. The little digs he gets in are sharp and very painful. So yeah, what have we been doing? It has been manic. I mean, we're all a bit slightly insane. We're all so tired we don't know what to do. As I do get older, it does get harder every year, but it has been, every time we come on we say this has been our busiest year ever. And yet again, this has been our busiest year ever. So we're getting up 50 patients a day quite regularly now, 60 or 70 calls a day, and everybody's flying everywhere. The volunteers and the staff are working at absolutely breakneck speed. It really is very full on, and of course both Sally and Tim are quite new to it, and I mean whenever anybody comes for an interview here to talk about you know, whether they want the job or not, I always say to them, this is a massive job, guys. Don't think it's just a normal vet job. It's huge. You've got a lot to do. You don't only see the patients like a vet does in practice, in commercial practice, but you have to see that patient all the way through every day until it's released and know all about it. And they all go, yeah. And they're finding it, what's the word? Challenging, I think is the word. Challenging.
They are doing an absolutely fantastic job, though. We are well known for dropping people in royally at the deep end of this place, but they are doing an amazing job. And the big difficulty that a lot of the vets who work with us have coming, if they come from a domestic practice, is usually with a domestic animal, you speak to the owner, you can work out what's gone wrong, what's happened, whether any changes in behaviour have happened, if suddenly they're not using a leg or anything like that. With a wild animal, you can't. You get an animal, it arrives on the table, and that is the only thing you know about it. You might hear, get on the cards, leg injury, head injury, something like that. But everything is, you have to start from zero and work through. It is a very, very challenging thing to get into, but both are doing fantastic jobs. So
and the only trouble with that is we are having a bit of trouble with Sally because I'm berating her a bit at the moment. She's always here pretty nearly always here till midnight every night. And yesterday, I thought, well, at least she'll get a break now. She'll get a break. Who appeared on my screen at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Sally, on her day off. I was about to go up and shout at her, but then I got very busy and I forgot to do it, so we didn't do that either. But yeah, I mean, it is a very full-on job. I always say, if anybody can be a vet here, going into any other practice anywhere in the world, it will be an absolute doddle, because it is very full-on here, and they have so much to remember, so much to look after, and you know, with 50, sometimes even on the peak of the season, 60 or 70 patients a day.
Oh, we can have more than that. And it's not patients, it's cases. So how the sort of intake works here, and we'll get more into this as we've got a little sneaky tour of the centre plan for later on. But how we tend to work here is each case that's brought in is given a diary number. So if you bring in 1 fox, that's diary number 1. Maybe 8 ducklings is diary number 2. 14 blue tits, diary number 3. So it's actually 60 diary numbers, which could be 80, 90 plus patients, depending on what's actually coming in. So it does get incredibly busy, and both the vet team and the volunteers are regularly here well into the early hours of the morning, just making sure that everything's got through. So it is a bit manic, I think.
Bit manic, and likely to remain so now for the year. I think this year particularly, everything came in very early. So, you know, we had things in a month, 6 weeks, even 8 weeks earlier than normal. Hopefully we won't now get those in later on, or the same amount later on, so hopefully the year will balance out a bit, but it ain't going to be quiet. I think we can say that quite honestly, it's not going to be very quiet. Lawrie showed me a picture of a swan then. I don't know whether you saw that.
I don't know why that... No, that flicked on. It shouldn't have flicked on. Apologies.
Yeah.
See, this is the technical work that we have to deal with.
Technical work.
That you've got a slight spoiler about one of the things that will be coming up later in that particular boat.
Well, there you are. You see, so we try to give you a little preemptive snack here. Already money's come in, guys. Thank you so much. We've had £10 in from Mostly Sane. Mostly Sane, you're not in the real world.
Describes us very well.
You've got to be insane to do that, so thank you for that. Estelle's given us £5, so the money is coming in. I have promised Lawrie I won't talk about money much tonight, so that was
and
it.
you've broken that already.
No, I said much. I said much. I didn't say not at all. I said limited. But because the money you do give us helps us, that's what it's all about. I'll shut up for now on money. So and more money comes in, so I can't help talking about money when it keeps coming. Guys, thank you. I mean, you watching what we do, taking interest in what we do is what it's all about. I mean, we can do what we do, and we spend the hours doing what we do because we love it. We are insane, but it's with your help that we can keep that going all the time. So it's pretty brilliant stuff. Lawrie, we better get back to the script now, because so far I haven't even looked at my script page, which is in front of me here. Look, he writes me a script every week, and I ignore it.
We never stick on with it. So, interesting enough, there's been a few comments both on Facebook and on YouTube that have been coming in over the past couple of minutes. So a few people have asked for a Swan update, and you might have already worked this out, but that is coming.
Laurie's
really ruined that one. We do have an update on the Shot Swan coming later, and we also have an update on our Fox Cubs for you as well. So whoever asked in, I believe on YouTube for a Fox Cub update, we do have one of those coming as well. We've got a lot of updates to get through this evening. But there's also a couple of questions that have come in. So several people have asked, what dogs do you have, Simon, after you spoke about them earlier?
I have 3 dogs. I have 2 golden retrievers. One is a puppy. One is a rescue who was, well, Lawrie knows and Abby knows, he was so scared when he first came. He's now been with us a year, just over a year. He's getting better. He does have his bad days. He sort of thinks you're going to hit him every 3 seconds, which is really annoying.
If you ever do that, it will hit the deck.
He hits the deck.
Completely. So clearly whatever happened to him previously, it wasn't.
But you see, if I do this, Lawrie does, watch. If I do that... Oh, Lawrie, get real, man, get real. So I might later on, if we get quiet, entice the dogs in if I can. But you can only entice them with food. My girlfriend spends the whole time, oh, the dogs love me, the dogs really love me. I said, yeah, because you give them their food. That's why they love you. Anybody who gives them food, you can have the worst enemy in the world. You wave a steak at a dog's face, and it's going to come running up to you. It's going to think it's great. So yeah, no, they are beautiful dogs. So we've got Sky, who's a black flat coat. He's 9 now, nearly 9. Sadly, he has got multiple cancers. We're going to the vet quite regularly with him, and it's getting near the end, but not yet, I hope. Bobby, as I say, who's now about 3.5. We don't know his age actually. He's probably 3.5 to 4, something like that. He came in as a rescue, all the way from Ireland, believe it or not. And we've got Toby, who's just a complete nutter. We had him when he was a tiny little puppy, and I assured my girlfriend that he would sit on her lap for years. Well, he does.
He does.
But
40
he's a
kilos.
big, yeah. I mean, he was a puppy for about a week, and then he started to grow. He's now bigger than Bobby, nearly as big as Sky, and is a complete hooligan. And if he is not getting attention, he goes up to Bobby and bites him on the bum. Quite hard, I hasten to add.
And the neck, and the face, and the ears.
He takes after me. If Lawrie doesn't do as he's told, I just bite him. It's always
sadly that's actually accurate.
It's the way to go. So what else we got? Come on, let's get back to the script.
Yes, a couple more questions just before we get into the updates on there. Charlotte has asked, any idea why that pigeon got painted blue? We've actually heard from the guys who found that pigeon, and apparently at the police station they were repainting the cells, and the pigeon somehow managed to fall into the open paint tray that was out. So that has solved quite an issue for us, because we had no idea how it came to be painted blue.
So it's not only Lawrie, it's not only the boys in blue now, it's the pigeons in blue.
The pigeon in blue. Yeah.
There we are, you see. So I come in with these one-liners, don't I? I come in with these one-liners.
Yeah, they're just all bad, so you need to try and find a good one.
Be careful, I should start singing again, Lawrie, and you know what happens when I start singing. Okay, go on.
Pixie Jane Pickering has also asked, how do I add information about an Idot on the website? So that's actually one for Abby. Okay, so Abby's just said if you can email in, just contact at idot-waf.org.uk. We'll try and talk that through. And if anyone does have any questions about Idot, wants to know a bit more about Idot, wants to get involved on that side, just drop Abby an email, and either her or Douglas can get back to you on that one. Well, we're hearing more about that very soon, I believe.
On Idot, we are actually producing an app, but we've held the app slightly because we just want to get the website totally right. They're working on that at the moment. Hopefully it'll only be another couple of weeks. Then when the website's up, then the guy will make sure the app guy will make sure he stays in the same format and the same color design and everything else. So the app is nearly there, but it's going to be maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks before we get that going. But that'll make it easier. With Idot, I immodestly think it's a great idea. I think it is, and I think more people are doing Idots and actually put them up on the board. So it's really nice to see the counter moving, and that's the important thing, so other people can realise that we're doing the Idots we say we're doing. If everybody did one thing a day, 24 billion, I think our computers would blow up if we had 24 billion Idots a year, but it'd be really nice to get up in the millions, and I think people are doing them, they're just not putting them up there. So we're going to try to make it even easier for you to say what you've done, or if you've done 50 Idots in a week, maybe we'll get to a position where you can just post, I've done 50 Idots this week, and that go up as well. So yeah, Idot is it's going well. Douglas is working really hard, and behind the scenes, taking none of the glory as always, is Abby, who's doing all the hard work. Douglas is just the front face for it. She is there, but she's totally in the black tonight. We've got to put a light on, Lawrie. We've got to see Abby for a few seconds, otherwise, people get very cross if we don't have a light on Abby. Don't swear, Abby. Behave yourself. There's a light, and any minute now you're going to see Abby in the light. Oh, look at that! No, you can't.
I am going to get killed for this.
So Abby is there. She's always there. We try to get her on the front of the camera just to do a little 5-minute slot with me. So if you all ask nicely, she will feel duty bound to do just a little 5-minute bit with us at some point.
Not sure about that.
She's worked really hard on Idot for about 3 or 4 years now. She got a bit disgruntled when it went slowly and it stopped and it went wrong, and like all these great ideas, I suppose, they go through their teething problems. And she got a bit depressed, but now she's firing on all cylinders, I hasten to add, and doing very well. So there we are. That's my Abby praise for the night, Lawrie.
Cheers, boss.
Thank you. Pleasure.
That makes up for the fact we just stuck her on camera.
Well, not quite.
So one last question before we get into a bit more on the animal side of things. Simon, how far are you willing to go to release an animal distance-wise?
It depends if it needs to be. I mean, some animals don't have to be released back to where they're found. Most adults do, and if we got something from a long way away, we would either take it ourselves if we had time, but as you know, Lawrie and I are always out and about doing rescues, and you go out on a rescue, you get tied up, people ring you, and it's all a nightmare. Or we would get somebody to take it. So if an animal needs to go back to where we found it, an adult animal, we will always make sure it goes back to where it belongs, unless it's a totally impossible situation for it. But no, we will go what we have to do. I mean, if we got an animal, if we get an animal from Barbados, I feel duty bound, Lawrie, to take it back to Barbados.
I think along with that, there might have been a wonder about how far we go on the rescue side of things as well. So we used to say that our general rescue area is about an hour's drive each way from the centre. And that was mostly because there are other centres sort of outside that area that are a lot closer, can deal with things a lot faster than we can get there. The problem is now, as with every wildlife centre, sadly, money, donations, everything is drying up. There's not a lot of support on there. Yes, I'm mentioning it, so you can stop that. And many of them have closed. Many of them haven't been able to continue, have closed their doors. And because of that, obviously, the situation gets a lot busier for those of us that are left to run everything. So now we will regularly do over an hour, depending on where it is from the centre and whether there's another centre. We'll work with other centres and other organisations depending on how close they are. But as I think Simon said before, when it comes to rescues, if we specifically are needed on one, we'll go as far as it needs to be. You've done several old birds on Skomer near Wales, and a few other things, haven't you?
In fact, Lou's just mentioned, which is true, a few years ago, we had a cuckoo brought in. It was one of these cuckoos that was tagged, and the tag was so heavy, to be honest, that it weighed it down. It was in a real bad state when it got here. We didn't think we were going to get it back to a condition where it could be released, so we cut all the tagging off. We told the BTO and whatever that we had to cut it off because it was killing it, basically. And this cuckoo got better, and we suddenly realised that all the cuckoos had gone by then. They'd already got to Italy. So believe it or not, we rang up British Airways and said, look, we've got a real problem, guys. We've got this cuckoo ready to go back, but all the others have already left the UK, and they're in Italy. So believe it or not, Lucy got this trip, which I shall never forgive her for. She flew out to Italy.
First class, wasn't it?
Yeah, first class, and the pigeon had the seat next to the pigeon. I'm going mad. The cuckoo.
It's like a pigeon, but completely different.
Completely different. The cuckoo had the seat next to her, and she released the cuckoo. Everything went very well. And when she flew back, she was really, really, really hacked off because they flew her back economy. Just wasn't the same thing. Well, I don't know whether you're on tonight, Lucy. I don't know whether you're there. You're probably still working, but yeah, that was a trip you got, which I gave you out of the kindness and goodness of my heart.
Lucy has just said, just finished work and eating now, so she is actually here joining us for this story.
Excellent.
There's been a few people wondering about that story and about the flight side of things. We certainly didn't put on a flight just for this bird, and I know a few people have been wondering that with the whole global warming issue. What happened with that is we were offered a seat on a flight that was already going out. So that flight was already going to happen, we just happened to piggyback on the back of it. So there was nothing done specifically on that side of things, but luckily said bird managed to get back. And it is a beautiful story. I love that story.
However, if anybody's got a private jet and wants to fly me to Barbados just to see if anything needs rescuing, I am available, guys, anytime you like. Barbados is my favourite Caribbean island. So what else is going on? Oh, we just had 100 SEKs. You've got to have
Swedish krona.
Okay, we've got to get a conversion sheet, Lawrie, so we can see what that means in English, because I get very confused with all these monies. Somebody from India gave us some money a few weeks ago, and it was, I think, 3.5 million rupees. I got really excited. I think it was about tuppence, but never mind. So what else we got? Any questions coming in, or can we go back to where we should be?
So returning to animals, actually, on a wildlife channel, surprising. So patient-wise, it has been incredibly busy. So as Simon said earlier, we are seeing 60, 80 new patients a day, almost every day. These are all new patients as well as the ones that are at the centre. A lot of birds, even though they're only here for 2 weeks or so, maybe 3 weeks, depending on the species, just until they're old enough to fend for themselves and then they can go back. It adds up very, very, very quickly. So we'll go through a couple of the patients that we've had, and there will be some updates on some patients that you have already seen. So Simon, would you like to start us off?
No.
Okay, so
I love it when it all doesn't go to plan. Go on, Lawrie, tell us what's going on.
Okay, so from the last one, some of you may remember, if it decides to work. Why isn't it deciding to work? I have no idea. Some of you may remember the Sparrow Hawk that came in with a broken wing a few weeks ago. Luckily, it didn't require an orthopedic operation at all. The bone was perfectly realigned, and it could be done with a splint. So we've got a special metal splint that's sutured in place to keep everything nice and rigid, and it was kept under cage rest for a number of weeks, and that bird made absolutely fantastic progress on there. I believe I've actually, there you go. So this is the bird with the splint in place. It was like that for a little while, I believe 3 weeks was the time that it was. That was then removed, and the bird was moved into one of our larger aviaries. We'll talk about those more in a second. And it's been making absolutely fantastic progress in there. And amazingly, just a few days ago, this was the moment said rather angry Sparrow Hawk took back to the skies and disappeared off without so much as a thank you. So beautiful to see them go back to the wild, and amazing that it didn't need anything more invasive than just a splint, I think.
I mean, sparrowhawks and kestrels and any bird of prey, especially peregrines, I mean, their wing strength has to be at 100%. You cannot release them if they're not, because they rely on that to live. So to get that bird back and to see it fly like that's a bit of a tearful moment for us here at Wildlife Aid, you know. We tend to have a bit of a cry when we need it. Should I go into song again now?
No, please don't. So moving on, more patience. This little guy, this hedgehog, is a victim of something that sadly we see an awful lot of at this time of year when people are going into their gardens, they're starting to do more work, and that is a Strummer injury. So this is actually after everything was sewn up and halfway through the healing process. The original image is far, far, far too graphic for anyone to see. But while strumming the edges of a lawn, someone accidentally caught this hedgehog. And we've seen some horrible, horrible injuries from garden strummers. I believe they're called weed whackers or weed eaters in the US as well. But please, if you are planning on doing garden work, either with a mower or a strimmer or anything like that, just check. There are so many hedgehogs out and about. We're just getting into the birthing season for hedgehogs now at the moment, so they'll start to be out a lot more. They'll start to have their young with them as well. So please do check. Just even if it's moving the side of the grass, make sure that everything is moved, that there's no one hiding there, because if you do hit one, it can prove fatal. Luckily, hedgehogs are quite good healers. We can usually get them back, but please just be careful. We don't want that sort of injury.
I think another thing to mention here, Lawrie, really is very important, because we are just about to hit the baby season for hedgehogs. If you're thinking of cleaning out your shed or the back of your garage or whatever this time of year, just look very carefully, because if you see sort of a little a pile of a bit of chewed up plastic bits or chewed up black bin liners or just rubbish in the back corner, it could well be a hedgehog nest. If you're thinking of changing your shed or lifting your shed up, there could be a hedgehog nest underneath. Just be really, really careful, and if you can, just, you know, if you do see something, just delay the work for a few weeks. It won't be that long, but give them every chance they got, because, you know, we all say, and we say every time, hedgehogs have gone down by over 97% now from 30 million to, I read a thing last week that it was only 500,000 now, so that's another 500,000 gone, so only 500,000 left. So hedgehogs need all the protection, as do any animals. You know, it is that time of year, things are having babies. Just be really careful, and if in doubt, give a wildlife hospital a ring. Just ask for advice before you do anything. That would be my advice to you.
I believe we may have lost the stream on Facebook. I'm not sure if it's still working anywhere else. The chat is still working on YouTube. I can still see that. Please let us know in the comments if you can still see and hear us, please. I'm not sure if we've just had an internet issue this side of things.
Lorry's broken down again, Lorry's broken down again, Lorry's broken down again, we all have tea. Oh God, he's got his serious face on now, guys. This is Lorry's serious face. He's having to concentrate.
Everything's working fine this end.
Our end's good.
There's a lot of lag. Our end's fine.
I'm sadly, guys,
encoding overloaded. Let me just
okay, well, let's keep going, Lawrie, because we'll have to sort that out. But if we have a too big a silence on our YouTube live, we get into big trouble. So we've done...
No one can hear us.
Not even on YouTube? Are we out? Are we gone?
No, we're still in at the moment.
But... Oh, okay, some people can on YouTube.
So audio fine, video lag. Oh my God, we've never had such a big problem, guys. We're really apologetic for this.
Very
serious lag.
Very
varied results.
Is that our fault, Lawrie, or is that everybody else?
As is, because there are some people that can. So
audio is
it's
fine.
Not enough video. Everything's streaming fine. Drop frame. Apologies for this, guys. We are.
Chat and audio is fine. The picture's frozen.
I can hear you. So audio is fine, but the video is lagging.
Yeah, but you don't really want to see us anyway, do you? If you can hear us, that's good enough. Lawrie and I have got exactly the right faces for radio.
That's
never forget that, guys. Right faces for radio. So if you can hear us and you can't see us, that's got to be a bonus. It's got to be a bonus. Let's go on to the next bit, Lawrie. So we've done. Oh, we haven't done. We're going to do deer next, won't we? In plastic fencing.
Would you like to talk about some of the rescues that we've been up to over the past couple of weeks? So hopefully you can still hear us, guys.
It says here on my script, talk about rescues the last couple of weeks. So I'm reading as Lawrie tells me. I do as I'm told. Everybody thinks I'm in control. Lawrie has the helm. So let's talk about that. What do you want to talk about first?
Entirely up to you. You choose where you want to go.
Let's go with deer in plastic fencing, of which we had two, really, didn't we? Well, one was a wiry plastic fencing. We had one in somebody's garden. It was a male roe deer caught in some sort of orange plastic fencing type stuff. All around its antlers, couldn't get out. So that was actually for us quite an easy rescue. We just went up to it. I was cutting away. Lawrie jumped on it at one point. Why he jumped on it, I've no idea, but I think thought he was being helpful, which he actually was. So we cut that free, got all the netting off, and that ran off into the distance beautifully. So that's what it's all about. We also had a very sad one where a mother deer, pretty obviously pregnant, had got stuck in a sort of an electric fence, but it was it was a proper fence, as opposed to just wires. It was the whole sort of plastic fencing with wire through it. She got stuck in that, and Lawrie and I very carefully cut her free from that, and just as we cut her free, sadly she died. There's nothing we could do. We tried to get her back, she wouldn't come back, and she was pregnant. We think she probably had 2 fawns inside her, which were obviously dead because she died. That's just tragic for us. I mean, any pregnant animal, if you get stuck in something, is going to be very, very stressed. It's not going to do well. But to have it die just as we cut it free was an absolute gut wrench. I mean, Lawrie and I were both very subdued for the rest of the day. I'd like to say that Laurie's been subdued ever since, but sadly he started talking again quite soon afterwards, which spoilt the whole day for me. No, so things like that, guys, be very careful of. Stand well back. If you do get a deer that's stuck in a situation, ring a wildlife hospital, but stand back. Don't try and cuddle it or get near to it or put blankets on it. Stand out the way. If you can, cover its face with a towel or something, just to lower the stress levels. If it can't see, it's not going to be quite so stressed, but that's about the only thing you should do. Don't rough it up in a blanket and stroke it and talk to it. That is entirely the wrong thing to do. Okay. Lawrie, yours is the next one. Go on.
So we also had a rather interesting rescue. A couple of you may have seen that if you've been following us on our other social media channels, which was a rescue of 3 badgers, so a mum and 2 cubs, that were stuck in a slurry pit. So for those of you who don't know what a slurry pit is, this is the pit where all the human feces ends up before it goes through a water treatment plant. It was surprisingly not as smelly as you'd have thought it would be, but it certainly had a stink to it.
Wasn't good.
But when we first turned up, the poor badgers were desperately trying to escape. They'd actually climbed up a tiny little pipe to a sluice gate.
So, Lawrie, let me just interrupt you for a second here, because they were about, 15 feet down, so they couldn't have got up. They were going up a pipe, which I think Laurie's got a picture for in a minute. So they were desperately trying to get out. And the fire brigade were there. They were there to help us, as were the people at the actual. It was the sewage works, the sewage cleaning works. It was pretty tragic. So there they are, desperately trying to get out. They're about 10, 15 feet down. They're trying to climb out. This is mum and 2 babies. We're trying to work out how. Sadly, they got through some fencing, which they shouldn't be able to do. But obviously, I guess one of the babies went in, or both babies went in, and mum followed them. And they all ended up down there. So they're in a terrible state. They were very smelly. They were very wet. We don't know how long they've been there. But basically, with a good teamwork and the fire brigade helping us, they managed to aim jets of water to get them into the right place so we could catch them. And we got them up and out and safely back out to the wild. Rather than bring them back, they looked quite fit. They were running around. Rather than bring them back just to dry out and stress out, they would have dried out in the wild anyway. So we went to the nearest gap in the fence, which we found, which is obviously a badger run anyway, because you can see the badger tracks going out from it. And we put them back there, and they all ran off. Well, mum ran off fine with one of the babies. One of the babies, the idiot, went the wrong way. Just corrected itself in time, because we were standing the other side of the fence screaming, "No, not that way, the other way!" And that caught up with the others. So they went back out to wild. Like all our releases, whether it's a release like this or a release after a time, we are never 100% sure. We have to just take the risk. It's like saying goodbye to your children. I mean, I actually cried with joy when my children left, because it saved me so much money. But no, seriously, when something goes out into the wild, you can't guarantee it's going to be fine. But I mean, you just hope you've done the right thing. Our work is all hoping we've done the right thing, and I think some proof has come back over the years that we have. So we keep on going, guys. That's what we do.
We do indeed on that one. The other rescue that we've done quite recently was actually a rescue that Simon did by himself on a weekend, and I wasn't there for. So I have absolutely no idea what happened, other than it involved some ducklings and a mallard. So Simon, over to you on that one.
So it actually wasn't far from the centre. It was a Saturday evening, I think, from memory, and it was a woman rang up saying there's 8 ducklings or 8 to 10 ducklings down a manhole cover on the side of a roundabout, not too far from here. And lo and behold, when we got there were 8 ducklings. Mum was actually there on the side of the verge, but wouldn't come that close. Then she ran out into the middle of the road, which was all a bit worrying. But we managed to lift the grating on we managed to get the ducklings into a net, lift them out and get them into a box, which is beside me there. You can see the blue box. And then we just put the box down, hoping Mum would come back towards them and I could release them all. Sadly, she didn't. We got a bit too close at one point trying to keep her off the road and she flew off. Then she landed in the field just the other side of a hedge, so we put the ducklings over there and waited for about an hour, hoping that Mum would come down again. And in fact, Mum and Dad were both there, so the male and female were there. But as soon as we put the ducks out, they flew off again, and after an hour they hadn't come back. Now, this is a bit of a catch-22 for us, because we know if we take those eight ducklings back, we're very likely 99.9% chance of getting those 8 ducklings back out to the wild when they're old enough to go, which will be in about 16 weeks' time, because they were newborn. If we let them go back with Mum, they had the risk of crossing the road, and there were several roads before they could get to any water. And we have, sadly, nature's pretty tough, guys. I know we always say this, but nature's hard. You get ducklings and Mum out there, the corvids will come down, the crows, the jackdaws, magpies, whatever, and they'll just pluck the ducklings away. They'll take them away and they'll eat them because they're mean, nasty, cruel people. People, birds, whatever.
You're really not good on species.
No, I'm not. I'm not good on species, but I'm just looking at jackdaw on the roof over the other side of the building. But no, I mean, if they do go back in the wild, that's why mums have so many. They have probably 12 odd ducklings. They're lucky to get 2 or 3 to maturity. So that's what it should be like. They should be with Mum, but us taking them back, we know we're going to get 8 back to the wild again. So it's a bit of a difficult seesaw for us to have to balance on. But they did come back in. They will be fine. They will go back out, and that's 8 ducklings back instead of maybe just 2 or 3. So that was a nice little rescue release, but not the release, sadly.
Yes, yeah. Now, apologies for the continued delay to the video side of things on there. We would like to bring you a lot more stills of the patients that we've had, but unfortunately it seems to be lagging massively. Everything seems to be streaming fine this end, but it seems to be an issue with how it is being run through our encoding engine. So apologies for that. The only way I think that we can do that is to take it off and take it back on again, which I'm not sure we can do. I've just been told to look down, and I have no idea why. Abby, would you like to? Okay.
Abby would like to.
Answer this now. I've just found a baby bird that fell out of the nest under our eaves, and I've put it in a box with water and some earthworms. Can the parents rescue it? Simon?
It depends how old it is, to be honest. I mean, the thing we always like to get is either a video or a picture, because it'll tell us whether it's a fledgling or a nestling or what it is. If it's really, really tiny and really no feathers at all, that's a nestling. It might be all right. Just put it back to very close where you found it. Hopefully Mum and Dad will come back for it. If it's a fledgling, I mean, a lot of birds at the moment, we've already had hundreds of birds through the centre which are fledged. When they do fledge, they come out the nest, they're a bit all over the place for a couple of days. I mean, the corvids and all the sort of jackdaws and crows will stay on the ground for 3 or 4 days at least before they start to fly, which is why if you go into your garden and you sort of pick up a very young crow or jackdaw, you'll suddenly get dive bombed by the parents because they're trying to protect it. We need to know more. It's very hard. Put it back as near to where you can as you found it, and hopefully Mum and Dad will come back for it. If you can't get it back in the nest, which sometimes you can find the nest and get it back in there, but if it's a fledgling, as I just said, it might be just practicing leaving the nest anyway. So we need a bit more information. Sorry to be that vague, but send us pictures, send us video, or send it to your local wildlife hospital. They will give you good advice, I'm sure.
Charlotte has asked, I'll be renting a flat with a balcony soon. What can I do for wildlife on the balcony?
I would sit down with a nice meal, a large drink,
What would you actually do,
Enjoy
Mr.
watching.
Cal?
I enjoy, but to be honest, wildlife this time of year, everybody feeds the birds. I know I'm going to get into trouble now by a lot of people. Wildlife this time of year, there is plenty of food for them. They can find their food, they're absolutely fine. They don't need us to feed them. The only reason we feed them is because we like seeing them, we like getting them down into the garden. So just enjoy your balcony, have some nice pollinating plants, have some nice plants that the bees like, whatever, and that will have growth on them.
Allium,
Yeah.
I've always found works really well for bees.
I tend to use an Allen key myself, but if you want allium, that's fine. No, seriously, guys, I mean, just enjoy it. I mean, there will be grubs around, there will be things that they can come and get. Don't go over the top. Just enjoy watching the wildlife doing what it does far better without our help than with our help. So, enjoy it.
Do you ever have any problems with pigeons that are released after an extended stay at the centre returning?
Yes.
Do
Basically, we try not to humanise them, habituate them, imprint them, whatever. Sometimes they will come back for a bit. We sometimes have to take them further away. Sometimes we have big problems if you take something about 20 miles away, which you can do with a pigeon. It doesn't need its particular territory. That dissuades them from coming back again. But they just know, you know, it's like a 7-star hotel here. They keep coming back for more, as I would if I could go out to Barbados more regularly. But never mind. So I'm not allowed to talk about money tonight, so I'm going to talk about Barbados all the way through. Let's go through some more stories. Lawrie, what else? We've got the badger. We've done the badger. How about this shot swan? Because you were quite involved with that.
Yes, we've had a number of people asking about that one, and we would like to show you a bit of video and stills on that, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to be working at the moment. But for those of you who are asking about the swan that was very, very sadly shot in the head, not once but twice, probably from a catapult. It's made amazing progress. So Sally and Sarah, two of our vets, performed surgery, removed both of the pellets from that. The one near the orbit was really, really difficult to remove, but they were able to get it out. The swan has been recovering incredibly well. That lump is now gone entirely, and last week, amazingly, that little swan was able to go back out to the wild and was immediately setting about reclaiming his territory from a couple of invaders. So it's been doing incredibly well. It's been monitored by a number of people that have worked with us before and very kindly were monitoring the swan for us after it sort of got away with the first injury. But that makes, I believe, 5 swans that we've had this year alone with either definite shooting or potential shooting cases. So unfortunately we are seeing a huge spike in that sort of case this year. Hopefully it is not something that will last, but yeah, on that one, luckily every single one so far has been a success story, and I'm hoping that it stays that way.
So if everybody thinks I'm ignoring them at the moment, I'm just trying to deal with a rescue while we're talking. So I'm trying to deal with that quietly by text message and not by ringing somebody. So yeah, the swans was pretty tragic. I mean, luckily the guys who shot the swans, the 2 kids who shot the swans, have been moved on. So they're no longer living there, so the swan should be safe. But to have, you know, 4 swans, 2 dead, 2 we had to intervene with, 1 quickly, 1 took us a while to catch, but to get that sort of damage to any creature is just pretty horrendous. I mean, I'm only glad I didn't catch the guys, because I think I'd probably be in prison now, to be honest.
Well, yeah.
So there we are. So what else have we got? We've done all those. I've done all through your list. Aren't we good tonight? Look, we're pretty much up to it. So animals this year.
You never get through my list.
I'd get through most of it. I mean, we've had so many. We've got 13 baby owls. We've got 2 adult owls. We've had over 100 ducklings so far. We've got hundreds of baby birds coming and going. They come in and they go when they can. So that's flat out at the moment. And what you've got to think with the baby birds is that they have to be fed about every half an hour. We've got a blue tit nest which is on the cameras, on the webcams which we've got. We've now got 7, by the way, so get very excited. But the blue tits make over 1,000 journeys a day to feed their young, and that's from the dawn right through to dusk. And if you just watch the webcams for an hour or so, I mean, those birds are just flat out coming back with more and more food. We've actually got them on there. If I can bring it up quickly, Lawrie, we can have a quick look at that now.
We can try, but there's
so
not going to be a lot of video.
Is it? Okay, well, if there is video, it's up now. If you can have a look at it, maybe you can't. Mum's not there at the moment; she's gone. Oh, look, my dogs have just come in, Lawrie.
Yep, I have Sky in here with me at the moment.
They're supposed to be coming to me.
Yeah, they prefer me.
If I shake the biscuit tin, if we go back onto our cams for a minute. Look, this will probably work. Biscuits, dogs. Let's see if we can get the dogs in so you can see my babies. Hey, doglets. We've got a camera. I'm shaking the biscuits. Here.
Oh,
Toby,
on that camera.
Bobby. Hey, come on, biscuits. See, they don't only come with food, obviously. Here, look, biscuits. Abby's running around trying to get the dogs. Sky, here, Bobby, here, look, biscuits. Look, biscuits. There's Bobby. There's Bobby having a biscuit. Toby. Oh, there's Sky. Come and have a biscuit. Come on, my baby. Come on, Sky. And Toby's vanished. Toby's gone. Sky will have another one because he needs all the substance he can get. So that's Sky. He's the one sadly with the cancer. The other dogs are gone. So that was a quick, fleeting visit of my dogs. We'll try and do that another time when they're a bit more helpful, really. My dogs are never helpful. They always do exactly what they want. They know exactly who the boss is, and it's them. So there we are. Where are we going next, Lawrie?
Can we just say hello to a very special person on this stream? You know exactly who I'm talking about. FXP1688 has once again donated 100 euros to us. That's absolutely incredible. For those of you who don't know, FXP1688 is Sven. Sven is amazing. He's probably the most valued player on any of the Wildlife Aid live streams. You are absolutely incredible. As always, you've not missed a beat. Thank you so much for your continued support. It is absolutely very, very kind of you. And sorry it's ended up with quite a buffery bad stream. I'm tempted to stop it and restart it and just see if it picks it up.
Do you want to do that? Should we just try it? How long would it take to do it?
We can try.
How long does it take to stop and start it again?
Oh, just a few seconds, but it might not come back depending on how things work. So we might completely lose.
Come in, Lawrie. Cut this short. The pic has been frozen for ages. Viewing figures are plummeting. So if this doesn't work, we might have to call it a day.
Yep. We are now back live, but we'll see if we are actually back live. I believe now we should be up and running.
Okay. Well, give us your comments, guys. If we are back and everything.
If we are back, please let us know. It worked. Fantastic. It worked. It worked.
Excellent. We're back.
Right. So
Lawrie,
we now have to rush to make up for the past 20 minutes.
You can't have that sleep you were hoping for now. Lawrie really hoped the stream was going to die so he could have a bit of a kip. But it's not going to happen, guys. It's not going to happen. Right, so go on. What's the next thing, Lawrie, we're going to talk about?
So, let's get on to the one thing that we teased a bit earlier, which is something that a lot of you have asked for over the years that we've been running the YouTube channel, which is actually a little tour of the facilities here at Wildlife Aid. So for those of you who are on our Patreon channel, you'll have already seen a video tour that I did several months ago, just sort of walking around the whole centre. But we're just going to go through a couple of the sort of major structures that we have here, what we do in each of those, and how multi-purpose they all are. So we'll start off with a big downward view of the site. So this is the Wildlife Aid Centre.
Lawrie, you're showing my house.
It's not your house.
My house and my garden.
Just because we put you in pens does not mean that that's your house.
That's my house.
So, for those of you who've actually been to us before, you may recognise the car park in the top left. This is where everyone will arrive. You'll walk down the path and usually into our reception building, which is about here. Now, unfortunately, due to a small, little-known thing called COVID-19, we're currently not using that one. Our reception facilities are actually being run from a desk outside our reception, and everything's being done through a window just to make sure that we are complying with all of the rules and regulations that happen at that point. And then once an animal has actually come back, has been admitted to our reception, it is sent over to our main hospital building, which is this building here.
Now, let me stop you for 1 second, because I just want to say thank you to Yaz for £50. That's stunning. And thank you for Scottish Astronomer again for another £25. You won't be able to afford food soon. If you keep giving us all your money, guys, you're not going to be able to afford food. So let's go back to the main hospital, Lawrie. It's all yours.
So the main hospital is probably the building you've seen most when it comes down to any of the videos. So that's split into three, sort of three relatively equal thirds. The left side of it, as you look at it on that shot at the moment, is actually our veterinary office. So that's where the vets do a lot of microscopy analysis, a lot of sort of data entry, drawing up drugs and things like that. The centre part of it is the treatment room, our main surgery. So we do have two at the moment, but that is our main surgery and probably where the vast majority of our treatment happens and the vast majority of the things that happen on the videos occurs. And then on the far right hand side, that's what we call our ICU, so our intensive care unit. So that is for animals that are, they're not as stressy, but they need relatively constant contact. So things like pigeons will keep the odd young pigeon in there as well. Certain hedgehogs will go in there, doves, wood pigeons, things like that. There's
Lawrie,
a lot of that.
Let me just cut you off a second.
Well.
Apparently we're lagging again badly. Guys, just give us your thoughts. If it's really bad, please, please, please say that it's really bad.
It's running without lag fine on the tester I have open.
Okay, so let's just see how it goes. We'll keep going for now, but if you've got any comments, guys, you're not seeing things, please tell us. Okay, I think we're good.
The next major building is one that we call Hospital 2, which is actually quite misnamed because we don't actually... That was the first hospital, I believe, that we actually built.
It was.
So Hospital 2 is actually Hospital 1. But this is where we have several different facilities. We have our quarantine facility, so anything that comes in with anything that's called zoonotic, which is sort of contagious. So either transmissible between animal to animal or animal to human, depending on the issue. They will go in there. Anytime you go in there, that is mask, even though we have masks on at the moment anyway, mask, gowns, we've got hairnets occasionally and gloves, just to make sure that these things don't get passed either between animals or animals to humans as well. We also have our main X-ray facility over there. We're lucky enough to have a really nice digital X-ray facility. Lucy, who's in the chat, will remember not too long ago when we had a film X-ray unit and how fun that was trying to develop. But luckily we do have full digital X-rays. We are able to run that fine. And it also has our lab work. So on the lab side of things, we can do blood tests. We can do a whole lot of other tests just to confirm things like poisonings, kidney failure, anything like that as well. And then the last major building, I suppose, we've got is up here, and this is called our top barn area. This is the one that actually burnt down, I believe, in 1996.
It did.
But that is mostly for storage. A lot of the freezers, the food storage is up there as well, food preparation areas, and it also has our volunteer staff room up there. So any time that the volunteers staff need to take a break, it's all done up there, keeps everyone away from the animals so that we can minimise the stress. In terms of other major pens that you will have seen, this is probably the one that you'll have seen the vast majority of the time. These are our deer sheds, which are slightly misnamed because they very, very rarely contain any deer. These tend to be the sheds that once we come back from a rescue, whether it's Simon, myself, or any of the other rescuers, this would be the first place that an animal ends up. So this is the place where they go so that we can monitor them on cameras, we can see their behaviour, we can give them a bit of a triage before they're checked fully by the vets and then moved around the centre to the more specialist areas of the centre depending on their species and what's wrong with them.
The reason we have those really is two things. A, like most of our pens, they've got CCTV, but they're also air conditioned, so we can get the temperature actually right. Something needs to be warm, we can warm it up. Something needs to be cooled down, we can cool it down. So they're very closely monitored, not only by us, but to get exactly the right temperature in there for the animal to recover. So that's why we have those. What have we got next, Lawrie?
Yes, so the next one is actually several different pens. So in terms of what we call our FP pens, or our fox pens, we have several round the centre. So there is a number down by our reception building, and there's also a number of pens that go round the corner near the DS pens, the deer shed pens. Those are called fox pens. Don't always have foxes in them at all. They vary from foxes to owls to birds of prey to a whole lot of things. Everything is multi-purpose here, and just in case, we always try to make sure that everything is usable by any species. The one that are specifically for foxes are our top fox pens. They're still called the FP pens, but they're right up at the top of the centre. These are the ones, if you've been watching our webcams, these are the pens you see our fox cubs in. So once our fox cubs have actually gone through the system, this is the larger pen that they end up in. They've got a lot more enrichment, much more open sort of outdoor and indoor pens, and they're able to run around in there until approximately June, July time, depending on the age of the foxes, when they are able to head back out to the wild into one of our soft release pens, which if you've seen some of the videos we've uploaded in the past, you'll see how we do soft releases. If you haven't seen one of those, please check it out on the channel. You see the whole process of soft releasing both foxes and badgers. So, speaking of badgers, would you like to go through the badger facilities? Because I know they're your favourite.
Very quickly, we'll do it much quicker than you have, because I'm much quicker. Lawrie takes somebody on a tour of the centre. It takes him about 2 hours.
It takes me about 15 minutes.
I take a tour of the centre, and it's an hour at least.
And
I do a tour of the centre. It takes 10 minutes.
You discovered there's a building there, there's a building there, and there was a fox there.
And we're running out of time as well. So yeah, so we've got badgers. They go in actually just below top barn. So below top barn is our badger enclosure. There it is. It's called large flight, because if badgers aren't in there, we can try test flighting a buzzard or a kestrel or whatever we've got. So that's where they are, and they'll stay with us until they go back out to the wild in September, October. We're looking for, again, we're always looking for sites for our badger releases and our fox releases. So if anybody lives in the Surrey area, please give us a call or an email, anything. Just say you'd be interested in releasing badgers or foxes. They're the only two animals we have which have soft releases. So there is a bit of work involved, guys. You're not going to get away with that easily. It will take a month of your time, regular feeding, but not regular looking. We have to stay well back from these animals. What else we got, Lawrie?
The other unit that you may have seen quite a lot is what we call SU1, or Silent Unit 1, which is actually here. So this is the first port of call for our youngest mammal patients. So once they come back from orphan feeders, whether that be badgers or foxes, Simon and his partner Stanley tends to do a lot of the badgers. The foxes are handled by a variety of different sort of trained orphan feeders that are very, very experienced with foxes. They will end up in here. So this, if you have seen on our Patreon page, during the summer it's set up for foxes and badgers, all temperature controlled, all very carefully monitored. In the winter, when we don't have the younger animals to care for, this pen is actually completely remade, and it is where we overwinter a lot of our hedgehogs. So all of our pens, they're designed so that if we are in a season where we don't need that particular specialism, we can strip it down, rebuild it very, very quickly, and we'll always have space. One of the things that we're quite good at is if we ever feel that we're getting low, we can always find space.
Now, if Lawrie had been right on the ball there, he would have shown you the setup for badgers and foxes, and then he'd flicked a switch and we've gone to the setup for hedgehogs. But sadly, Lawrie is lacking.
I am lacking several times.
And lacking several brain cells. I'm lacking lots of brain cells now. I've hardly got any left at all, Lawrie, now. So at least you've got more than me. Be grateful. Move swiftly on. We're running out of time.
SU2, or Silent Unit 2, is actually our orphan bird unit. So this is a temporary structure that we have up at the moment. But this one is specialised for birds. So at the moment we have some tiny chicks in that we need feeding every 15 to 30 minutes depending on their age. They're up there at the moment. There are usually volunteers in there constantly from as soon as we open to as soon as we close. It's a mass of activity in there, but they'll stay in there until they're fledglings, until they get their flight feathers in, and then they can move out to one of our aviaries. And in terms of aviaries, we actually have quite a few. So these are the three sort of main aviaries that we use for garden birds. We do have another one as well that isn't actually on that, that's just to the left of where the pond aviary is shown. But we also have the larger aviaries that we use for birds of prey, for owls, for things like that. The first of them, these are called our hacking houses. Now these are really specialist units. These are all enclosed. They've got movable walls in there, so we can either have 4 pens, 3 pens, 2 pens, 1 pen, make everything as big as we want, all monitored with cameras. And these are really specialist in the way that we actually have tube access to each one. So if you get a particularly stressy bird of prey or anything like that, we can actually put both food and water in through a tube so that human contact is basically non-existent. We can monitor with a camera to make sure it's not getting too dirty, and we can make sure that that animal is kept as stress-free as it is possible to be. And those even have hatches on the roofs, so depending on, obviously, we discussed earlier the territorial issues of releasing animals in different locations, we can open a hatch on the roof and they can escape through there as well.
Is that the end of the tour now? Because I'm getting very bored with your tour now. It's so long.
The only other one that we really need to talk to is this pen, which I would say is probably my favourite in the centre at the moment.
Why
and
is that,
is
Lawrie?
because
Why is
it contains all of our baby tawny owls. And if you've looked at our webcams, you will just see a whole bunch of fluffy little owl youngsters sat up on a perch looking disapprovingly at every single person that walks past.
And have you got a picture to show that, Lawrie?
Absolutely love them.
Have
I
you
will
got a
try and
picture?
find a picture to show you.
He
Give
hasn't
me a
got
sec.
one. He hasn't
Simon,
got one, guys. He's
over
got
to
no
you.
picture.
Keep people busy.
He's blown it. He's blown it. He's going to find a quick picture. We're getting quite near the end, guys. While Laurie's looking for that, I'm going to say 2 or 3 things. Please, if you buy from Amazon, default to Amazon Smile, because and then name us as the charity, and we get a great donation from Amazon if you go onto Amazon Smile. We also please ask people if they would be interested in becoming a patron. We're going to do more for Patreon. I've decided, much to Laurie's disgust, I haven't told him yet, that we need to give Patreon members more. So if you would like to be a Patreon member, that's great. Please sign up and do it. And then, but tell us why and what you would like to get as a Patreon member. Be realistic, guys, because we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of a lot of spare time to do things. But if there's anything particularly as a Patreon member you'd like to have access to, perhaps before the general public do, let us know, because that would be really good as well. And then I've been told here, please mention my book, or otherwise I'm not going to work here anymore. So Lawrie is shut up now. Shut up. This is my time. Lawrie is a brilliant photographer. He keeps talking about doing a book, whether it's a coffee table book, whether you want writing in it, whether you want just his brilliant pictures. But we are really seriously asking him to do this book. But he needs some guidance from you as to what format it should take, what size it should be, whether it should have. That's too late, Lawrie. Too late for pictures of baby owls. So yeah, if you want Laurie's book, tell us what you'd like to see, what size, whether writing or just pictures, anything like that would be absolutely great, because I think it would be a beautiful book to have on a coffee table personally. We're going to produce it really beautifully so it will look nice. So if you think you might want a copy or 500 copies, that would be really great, because then Lawrie will be happy that he sold them. He doesn't want to go and do all this effort, which is many hours of work, to be honest, to create this, and then have 3 people buy the book. It would be a total waste of money for everybody. But his images are very special, guys. So just let us have any comments you've got about his book, and I'll stop talking about that now because his head will get too big for his boots.
No, I really don't like talking about this.
So we've got 7 webcams. I'm going to go on now because we're on the end. We've got 7 webcams live. They're actually 8, but one switches between one and the other. So go onto the webcams. We've got lots of things. We are changing them all the time. We put different things on them, but things that are reoccurring every night. We've got the badgers in the bunker during the day. We've got the badgers out in the play run at night. And in fact, the badgers at the moment, with the weather like this, you often see them sometimes by mistake jump into their paddling pool and come out really quickly and then go bananas when they run around to dry themselves off. But they do like to cool down. They do like to bath. I mean, at some stage this year you will see the badger go into the pool, lies on its back and sort of scratches itself like that to get it. It's a lovely sight, lovely to see. If you see that on the webcams, tell us, because we might have missed it. Just note the time, note when it was, and then we can replay it later on. So lots of stuff going on. There is always lots of stuff going on here. We're never at a loss for things to do or things to talk about. I know these sessions seem to pass really, really quickly. Every 2 weeks is driving me nuts. I might suggest to Lawrie that we do it every week. You watch his expression now. Yeah, look, his eyes went wide and he passed out. We do need one more very quick look at Abby, because somebody's just said, let's have another shot of Abby. So you've got to put the light on, Lawrie. Let's see Abby. Come on.
The torches.
Laurie's lost the. There she is. There's Abby. And if you'd like to see Abby properly on screen for just 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Don't let her talk, Lawrie.
So, moving on.
And what have we got? We've got one other thing. God, I'm going to say this now, quick. I'm going to forget. Keep your eyes open, guys, because our new vet, Sally, who has been a volunteer for a million years, well, she's not that old, but she's been a volunteer for a long time, is our new elite vet, and she's going to come on the next stream with us, which is, Lawrie, on the
16th.
16th of...
You told me that
June.
earlier, so I don't
I
know why
know,
you were feigning that you were looking it up.
So we're going to get Sally. If we can pull her away from a treatment room, which is a nightmare to get her out of there, even on her days off, we will get her down here and have a quick chat with her. She might keep running out to see patients, but there we are. So she will be on the 16th. So keep your eyes open, get your questions ready. Any veterinary questions, because I'd like to catch her out because it'd be funny. It'd be funny.
That's
it's
very
cruel. Cruel, but funny. So yeah, so she'll be with us on the 16th. We've gone past 8 o'clock. I will give you a 2-minute run on, Roy. It's all you're going to get tonight. 2 minutes you've got.
A few people are wondering whether we're going to go through any more questions. So yes, if we can go through a couple of quick fire questions.
Laurie.
So a few people asked us, have we ever dealt with common buzzards?
Loads of times.
Many times. There's several on the channel as well. We do a lot of imping work and stuff like that with buzzards. We've done orthopedic surgery with buzzards. They're probably our most common bird of prey, I'd say.
Next question.
Charlotte, have you ever managed to get any prosecutions for animal cruelty?
We don't proceed that one. We do work very closely with the RSPCA when we can.
And the police when necessary.
We are a wildlife hospital at the end of the day, and that's what we do. We do well. If you try to do too much, it waters down what you do actually do. So if there is a prosecution that's there, we've been part of some prosecutions on snaring and other things. We don't get directly involved, although we are behind the scenes helping other organisations.
Yes, we provide, because we have no legal power when it comes to this, it's the other organisations do. We provide the photos, the veterinary knowledge, sort of post-mortems, anything like that. We provide everything that we possibly can, but it is the police, the RSPCA or other organisations that handle the prosecution side. But I think we've worked through a few that have ended in prosecution.
Quite a few.
So,
it just puts us in a real predicament. I've said that word for a particular reason. Somebody watching tonight will understand the word predicament. So just to show that I haven't forgotten that particular person. Next question. You've got 2 more questions, Lloyd, then I'm going to cut you off.
JB Animals and Aquatics. I saw 2 male blackbirds on the grass. Why were they not fighting to protect their territory?
I have absolutely no idea at all. Lawrie, if you want to take that, you're welcome.
There's multiple reasons for that one. With most creatures, especially males, they will tend to fight a lot more when it comes to the breeding season. If it is not necessary to sort of kick that other one out, they won't expend the energy just for that risk of injuring themselves or expending too much energy and not being able to feed, to do everything that these birds need to do. The other possibility is that it's actually a young bird. At this time we get a lot of fledglings that are out of the nest. It could very well be a parent and a young bird depending on how they look. Certain species are very, very close to their adult plumage when they are fledglings, so it might just be the case that it's a parent and a youngster. But there are several reasons for that one, but they tend to only fight when there's something at stake at the beginning of the breeding season. Okay,
you're running out of time. Now I'm going to say one thing now because I've just seen it come up on the stream. Did the dog bite Swan get back to the wild? Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
It was a really great story. It was a great release. It went back. It was absolutely fine. So lives to fight another day.
And one for you, which I think unfortunately we'll have to say is our last one because we are running slightly over and we do have several rescue calls I believe that are awaiting your comments on those. What are your views on feeding birds with bird feeders?
Oh God,
this has been asked a few times.
It's really difficult. Some bird feeders are fine. As I said to everybody, you don't actually need to feed birds this time of year. All the bird feed companies now will be onto us like a ton of bricks, I'm sure, saying that's disgusting to say that. We feed them for our benefit. We feed them because we like to see them close by. They don't particularly need it. I'm sure it helps sometimes, but there are times when they do. So if the weather's really dry, they need water and therefore food close by is good. In the winter, when things are getting tough, they need it again. Bird feeders, you need to be really careful because lots of animals get stuck, or birds get stuck in these, as do mammals as well. So there are good ones, there are bad ones. I cannot go through the list now, it would take far too long. If you want to send us an email and ask whatever, that's fine. But I think the biggest thing I find, now this isn't a rude sign to anybody, but you get bird feeders which have these sort of tops that go up like that and out. So if basically what you've got, and I don't mean to do this on purpose, but you've got a V in the top of a fence or in a bird feeder, the bird gets on it or the animal gets on it, it slips, it goes down there and then it's absolutely trapped. It cannot get out, and we've seen animals actually eat their feet off trying to get out of things like that. So don't get anything that slips down from an open gap to a narrower gap, 'cause it's horrible. You get bird feeders which will trap squirrels in because they can get in, they eat too much, they can't get their heads back out again. We've seen us go out to deer stuck in fences, to foxes stuck in gates. The same principle, they get their head through, but then their ears get in the way. When you've got big ears like me and Lawrie, you know, you couldn't get your head back out again. So yeah, just be thoughtful when you look to buy something for the benefit of your wildlife. Just really, I know it sounds crazy, put yourself in the wildlife's position and just say, could I get stuck or hurt by this? And if the answer is yes, don't buy it, guys. Simple as that.
The other thing as well, if you do have a bird feeder, bird table, anything like that, please make sure you regularly clean it as well. There are several illnesses that are actually passed on in that sort of environment, and if you say you get a pigeon with paramyxovirus or something like that, if you don't clean your birds feeders or table regularly, that can very easily be passed on. Things like canker will pass on through that as well. So please, I believe the general rule is try and clean it once a month. You feel free to correct me on that one, I'm not 100% sure. But please do keep them clean as well, scrub them out, make sure that you remove as much of the leftovers as possible, because it can cause major issues.
Lawrie, as you well know, I would never correct you, but Lawrie, what we are going to say jointly tonight, we're going to say to everybody now, thank you for being here, thank you for watching. Send us your questions, email us your questions about Lawrie's book or any other questions you've got. We will get to it. We do it every 2 weeks, much to Lawrie's delight. He gets so excited about doing YouTube every fortnight. Yes. And so does Abby. Abby gets really excited too. So guys, thanks very much for watching us. You're great. I'm going to let Lawrie have the last word because he always does. Lawrie, over to you. It's good night from me.
Thank you, as always, to all of you, not only for putting up with us, but for putting up with quite a few technical issues on this stream as well. So thank you for sticking with us. We've actually got the most amount of views we've had all stream right now. So thank you so much to you all for sticking with us. We really do appreciate it. Thank you all for your comments, your kind words, your donations, your support. We could not do this without you, and that isn't something we're just making up. We genuinely could not do this without you. We can only do what we do thanks to your support and your kindness. So thank you all. Oh God. Thank you all, as always, and we will see you with Sally in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much.